Hello there. An independent Scotland faces real currency problems. As per usual, please like, subscribe and comment below. And when subscribing, please do press that little bell, but also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. What price Scottish independence now? Or should I say, what currency Scottish independence now? Because a leading political think tank, the Institute for Government, has highlighted what a bind the currency question puts the Scots Nats case in. It gives the 5 basic ways that Scotland can operate the economy if Scottish independence is achieved, and given the current situation, none of them looks viable, let alone workable. And whatever route the SNP government chooses for the people of Scotland to follow, it could well require a level of fiscal and monetary control that would very quickly take all the promised free stuff off the table. But by then it would be too late and the people of Scotland would be left to wear the consequences, while Nicola and her crowd soaked in the glory of an austere independence. Because if they went ahead with everything they've promised, Scotland would, as I've said before, end up bankrupted and at the door of the IMF, cap in hand. Or maybe even asking England for a bailout loan. Now, the 2 reports issued by the Institute for Government today will not make Scottish nationalists happy. But I have a solution for them, and more on that later. Now, the 5 options put forward by the Institute are a formal currency union with the rest of the UK, a formal currency union with the Eurozone, informal adoption of the pound, otherwise known as sterlingisation, a new currency pegged to another currency, like the pound, or a new currency free-floating on the foreign exchange markets. Now, getting into a formal currency union with the UK after independence would be akin to Brexit coupled with dropping the pound and joining the euro. Completely counterproductive as it leaves Scotland still under UK control. And the UK government has ruled that out anyway. Then the option of joining the Eurozone would no doubt mean signing up to almost complete EU control and no say as a member. The Scottish Government incoming fax machine would be running red hot with diktats on how they must run their country. And they'd have to wear that, all the while waiting for Brussels to get around to negotiating their full membership. And that's if, and it's a big if, all the EU 27 member states agree to allow Scotland to become a full member. That is not a given. In fact, the Eurozone 19 might not want to get into a currency union with Scotland in the first place. And the SNP would need firm assurances on all of this in writing prior to triggering their IndyRef 2, if they're ever allowed to hold one. Otherwise, I suspect the Scottish people will roundly reject independence. Now, the SNP could opt for a new currency pegged to, say, the pound or the euro. So one Scottish currency unit could equal £1 sterling, for example. Then Scotland could print trillions of notes and be rich, right? No, it obviously doesn't work that way, because pegging would be achieved by the actions of the Scottish Central Bank buying and selling sterling and its own currency. It's not permanently fixed. Scotland would have to maintain a lot of trade with the UK and hold loads of sterling in reserve to maintain that pegged rate. Otherwise, the markets will trash their currency. Under its own pegged currency, an independent Scotland would need to react to the Bank of England's policy decisions. So a pegged currency is like being in a currency union, but with the added costs of buying and selling currencies on a large scale to achieve it. So the Institute for Government says it leaves 2 options: a full free-floating Scottish currency, or informally using the pound, sterlingisation. But given the borrowing needs of Scotland in the short term, both of these would prove problematic. Basically, Scotland would need to reduce its annual deficit from the current 8 to 9% down to about 3%. And that would mean finding nearly 8.5 billion quid either through reduced government spending, and remember all those freebies Nicola dangled in front of the voters' noses, or massive tax rises, or a combination of the two of them. And if it took on its own currency, it would come under speculative attacks. Remember Black Wednesday. Anyway, as I see it, Nicola Sturgeon does have a way ahead. She needs to tell the people of Scotland that they need to invest forwards for independence. By paying much more tax right now and having far fewer services and free stuff, so that the current deficit can be reduced over time and an independent surplus can be built up. Isn't that the honest way to go about things? Put it to the people in clear terms so they know what it will take, what they're paying for, what they're voting for. She could show the country how prudent she is and can be trusted with their money. She could show the world that once independent, Scotland could be trusted when selling its debt onto the markets. After all, she keeps telling us that Indy is all that the people of Scotland care about. So if she won't do this, why not? And now suddenly, after refusing to acknowledge the British Army, Nicola now finds she needs them. But before I get into that, I just want to say a massive thank you to all my Super Thanks, Patreon and PayPal supporters, as well as those that do buy a mug with my mug on it. Links in the descriptions box below. You really do help me keep this channel going. Ambulance waiting times in Scotland have risen to crisis and scandal levels, forcing the First Minister Nicola Sturgeon to issue a grovelling apology and call on the good offices of the British Army to come in and assist her. Although Sturgeon would never likely admit any NHS crisis on her watch. With an MOD spokeswoman saying, "The Ministry of Defence has received a request from the Scottish Government under the Military Aid to the Civilian Authority process." But it took the emergence of some horrendous health stories and a grilling in First Minister's questions to force this request. And it comes after the scooter accident-prone Scottish Health Secretary Humza Yousaf telling people to think twice before calling an ambulance. An ambulance is an emergency service, so thinking twice could end up in tragedy. How much longer can the incompetent Sturgeon and her SNP clowns keep on mismanaging Scotland before they get ejected? So what's your opinion on a post-independence currency for Scotland? Please like and comment below.